Hello everyone, my name is Shelby and welcome to my channel. Today I want to talk about getting into buying storage unit auctions. So I was a little bit baptized by fire when I first got into storage unit auctions. I didn't realize, so I ended up getting 3 units that all had to be cleaned out. They all ended at the same time. They all had to be cleaned out in the same 48 hours. And I didn't mean to win all 3 units, by the way. But, well, first let me tell you how I even found those units. So I use something called storagetreasures.com. That's just like a basic auction site. It's pretty easy to use, pretty user friendly. You do create an account and then you would bid on those items and you don't actually have to pay for them until you win at the end. However, you should know that even if you put some money on some that's low, you might still win it, which is why I was bidding on 3 because I was like, oh, well, I'm probably not going to get all 3 of these. And I ended up getting all 3 of them. And so I had to clean these out by myself within 48 hours. And luckily, this one was pretty close to my house. I wish it was a little bit closer. It was only about 15 minutes away, which sounds not bad. But I did make all these trips back and forth because I didn't rent a truck or anything for these. At the time I had 2 vehicles, a Jeep and a Volkswagen wagon. And so both of those had a decent amount of space in the back of them. So I just would I'll just get into that a little bit later. But anyway, so I won these 3 on storagetreasures.com. That's the one that I would recommend using if you go into your storage unit facilities around your area, or just give them a call. You can actually just ask them what they use for their auctions, because they might not have a lot. And that's the thing, places don't have them every month. Some places do. There's a place around me that has them all the time, but they don't always have, because people's rental cycles start and end all at different times, so you don't really know exactly. There's no set guidelines for that. So people could be not paying for a while and then all of a sudden it's time, or they have one this week and they don't have any next week. There are a lot around my area that pop up on Storage Treasures, but like I said, I like to do ones that are very close to my house because it's a lot easier to run between my storage unit and my house or whatever to try to get rid of things from the unit, because there's going to be trash and there's going to be things that you just don't need or whatever. So my system is a little bit neurotic for how I actually go through these items, which I haven't done in a while, and I actually haven't done since I've had the storage unit. So now my system would probably look a little bit different. But either way, be prepared, one, to be tired, because maybe you have someone helping you with this, but I didn't have any help. I've done 4 units so far, and all of them I moved pretty much every single item by myself. For one of them, I asked my neighbor to help me put things by the dumpster, which were big pieces of furniture. And I was at the end of my rope and I was like, I need to return this U-Haul. I need your help. You can pick something free from the pile if you help me. And so my neighbor helped me push all this shit out of my neighbor helped me push all this stuff out of the U-Haul. So then I had these first set of 3 units, back to those. So 2 of them were 5x5 units and one was a large 15 by 15 or 15 by 20 unit, and it was a drive up unit, but that one had barely anything in it. It had a bar cart in it, and I think it had a nasty panini press or something like that, or a little grill thing, but it was so gross. I didn't even I was I'm not even cleaning this because it was super oily and greasy and stuff, and so that I just ended up throwing away. But the stuff that was in that unit was hardly anything. There was a bin, I think, of maybe some miscellaneous clothes or something, but that bin had barely anything. So I just cleaned that one really quickly, and I got a nice cute little bar cart from that. So the other 2, the 5x5s. So do not underestimate the amount of items that can fit in a 5x5 unit. So the first 5x5 unit had a lot of it was definitely like a newer, like I think they had just put stuff in there not that long ago. The way that it was in there made me think that it was people who had to like rush out of a home or something like that, because there were like random like bills from their mail and like things weren't really organized. They were kind of just thrown in there, and there were some boxes that they had purchased from I think the storage facility, but the stuff that it was just all thrown in there. There were like little kids' clothes mixed in with like adult male clothes and like just a lot of stuff. And so I don't it was a little bit sad honestly to like look at all these things because a lot of it was like little kid baby girl clothes and stuffed animals and things like that, but the stuffed animals did have kind of like a smell to them. So most of them I actually end up just donating, I think, those stuffed animals. And that unit I don't even think I actually got any like good return on my investment from that one. I honestly can't remember. I know it had a lot. It had a lot of stuff in it because I just kept. It was like packed so high up in that unit that I just like was just amazed by how much stuff was in. Because I was like, oh, a 5x5 is not even that much stuff, and oh my goodness, it was packed like literally crazy. So then the other 5x5 unit I got in that same like package that I got those other two, the other 5x5 I think had been rented for like tens of years because it was like it was a person who was a science teacher, I believe, because they had a lot of like old curriculums and not necessarily textbooks, but like things that like led to me believing that they were a science teacher. And I think I actually found like their name somewhere, but I can't remember what it was. And I had like looked them up. But anyway, going through that was just like crazy because also you could tell it had all been in there for so long because one, there was a lot of mouse poop, like an insane amount of mouse poop, and all the boxes and things had kind of like settled into each other after being in there for so long, and they were just so like packed. There was also mouse pee like all over, which I don't even know why they were so in that unit because I didn't find any like food or anything, but it was just like that unit was like gross. But one of the coolest things I found in that unit was a these old like Bibles from like the 1800s, and I'll put a picture of one here. But those I sold one on Facebook Marketplace, I think, and I sold the other one on eBay. In total, from that set of 3 units, I probably made about like a couple $100, I think, and I paid 150 for all three, like something around that number for all 3 units, and that includes the fees and everything. So I just I it was just crazy. Like cleaning out those units was crazy. And going back to the vehicles situation, I basically I had 2 cars that are both mine, and I would like go to the unit, fill one up, come home, get the other car to go to the unit, fill that one up. Then I would come home, then I would go through some of the things. Because another privilege that I have going through storage units is that my complex has dumpsters where I live in my condo complex. And so I could just go through that stuff before even bringing anything upstairs and to my condo. And I could just go through things and throw it away right in the dumpster without having to load up a, like full trailer worth of stuff for the dump. I didn't have to do any of that. And so that saved me a lot of time and energy because if I had to load up a separate load to go to the dump, that would have taken space, extra time, like time in a couple different ways, like actually loading it up, separating it all, and then actually taking that load to the dump, which I also did this all in the evening from my full-time job. So I would have had to like schedule a special time to like be able to go to the dump, would have probably designated one vehicle for dump stuff, then only would have had one vehicle to drive back and forth with all the stuff in it. So that just worked out like which if you can eliminate all those things if you just got like a rental car or if you have a pickup truck and you're just going to put all the stuff in a pickup truck or something like that. That was just like it was just crazy. So then the next unit that I did was maybe like 2 years ago, and that one was like a 15x10 or maybe a 10x10 or something like that, and it had a lot of furniture in it, which I was basically fine with and prepared for. So I did get a U-Haul rental for that one. Even the U-Haul though did not fit everything. I ended up having to do 2 trips in the U-Haul, and I probably, like, for the second trip I probably only emptied the U-Haul like halfway and then took all that stuff again. And that just, and when I got this unit, I already had my storage unit, and so I was able to take like some things over to storage and go through them there. But it also had a lot of big furniture, which I ended up putting just by the dumpster at my the dumpster where I live. So at that, because I was just like, I don't have a place for a couch and a love seat. Like, even with my, I think my storage unit is like a 10 by 15, and even with that, like, I have other stuff in there, so I can't just put a big couch and a love seat in there. Like, I don't have space for it. There was a mattress in there, like all types of, there was, I think, like only one like dresser type item, but it was just like crazy. And that unit was interesting. It had like this weird little coffee thing, which I'll post a picture of it here, like what it looked like, and it was missing one piece, but I ended up selling that like whole thing as one like big thing, just missing that one piece. And I sold that on Facebook Marketplace. I sold a whole big box of electronics that were like video game type electronics, and there was a Nintendo 64 in there and a bunch of Nintendo 64 games, and I sold that in a lot to like a friend of a friend who like resells electronics, because to me I was like, I'm gonna have to plug all this stuff in. I don't even know how to work video games. I'm gonna have to figure out like all of this stuff on how to like use this stuff. And it had a whole box of wires with it, but I was like, I don't know which wires go with what gaming system, whatever. So I sold that whole box. And I think there was a PlayStation in there too or something, but I sold that whole box for $250. And I was like, you know what? I'm perfectly happy with that, because sure, maybe it'll be worth more if I went through the time and plugged all this stuff in and everything, but it just was taking forever. So I was like, I'm not even interested in being part of this, like these electronics. So I just let that go for 250, and that was totally worth it for me. I also sold, I forgot about this. I sold this random little plushie for, I think I ended up selling him for like $120 ish, even though originally I had him listed for like over 200, but he wasn't selling. But he's from a very specific video game, and I used Google Google reverse image search or whatever to figure out what he was. But when I found him, other people were selling him on eBay for like $300, and I was like, and he was like this big, a small little plushy guy. I forget what video game he's from. I'll put it like, I'll try to include it in the picture that I put up here. But so that unit I made a good amount of money on. And I only paid for that last unit. That was the one by itself that I rented the U-Haul and everything. I only paid like under $50, including fees and everything, for that unit. So it was a lot of work. That one, I think I had flex time from my job. So I took like a Friday and just like worked on that unit so I could make sure that everything was out in time. But I moved all those couches and everything by myself. The main thing I would say is prepare to be exhausted when you do storage units. Even if you're not doing them alone, it's just mentally and physically exhausting to go through stuff. And I love going through stuff, but it still is exhausting. And I just think you should know that going into buying units. So I would say that buying these units was worth it for me at the time. Now I have like all these other things going on that if one of those side hustles slows down a little bit, maybe I'll go back to doing a storage unit clean out just for fun. Sometimes I do get on the Storage Treasures website just to see what's going on, if there's anything right where I live that I could bid on. But I don't really have time right now to go clean out a storage unit, especially when I only have 48 hours to work on it, and I don't have space in my own storage unit. So once I can clear out some of the other things, then maybe I'll go back to doing some storage unit cleanouts and maybe post something on this YouTube channel about it. However, I would love to hear if you have any questions about storage unit stuff. One thing I didn't go over is like personal items. So you are supposed to take like personal items back to the storage facility and then just kind of give them those. Mine were kind of combined for the 2 units because all that stuff just totally got mishmashed together. And so I tried to keep it kind of separate, but a lot of it I was like, here's just like the stuff for those 2 units, because there were a few like family photos and stuff. Mostly the one had, well, actually 2 of them just had like bills and stuff, and I was like, well, this has your name on it and stuff, so I took that type of things back. I found the title for their car in one of the units, so I was like, so I took all that stuff back. But anyway, you are supposed to do that when you get the storage unit, but the people don't really ask for it, in my experience. And then there is a Facebook group. I forgot to talk about this storage unit Facebook group, but this is one that I wouldn't super recommend going to because the people in it are a little bit spicy sometimes when people ask questions about, like, I'm new to storage unit auctions. Where do I get the details? Like, where do I buy them? How do I win them? Whatever. People are not that good at giving information. So they're good at, like, people will post like, oh, I got this in a unit, like, what do I do with it? People will help with that type of stuff, but newbies, they're not very nice to. So I just kind of am a backseat person on that Facebook group. However, if you have any questions about storage unit flipping, or you have done storage unit flipping and you have some cool things that you found, I would love to hear about them. But otherwise, thanks for listening, and I hope you learned something. Have a good day.